Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone who is joining us here on the Emergency Management Associates broadcast tonight. Welcome, Demon Catman from the east of England, Richard Smith from Nova Scotia. We have Canadian Patriot from east of Canada. We have Linda Moses here from Utah. We have Pam Miller here, welcome. Mary Luck is here, welcome so much. Catherine Sigerson from Central Canada is here. Thank you all so much for being here. Now, folks, we have a lot to cover tonight, unfortunately. I'm going to start off with a report out of Atlanta, Georgia. This is very poignant information, and I'm going to tell you, you may need some Kleenex for this broadcast. I'm going to start off this broadcast with this shooting that happened over Atlanta, Georgia. 4 dead, 9 people injured. 2 of those are teachers. I'm going to start off this broadcast right now with this.
At 5, still a very active scene outside Appalachian High School in Barrow County. Atlanta News First, hearing from students as our breaking news coverage continues.
In the 7th.
Please stand by.
He got his head sticking out the door with the gun.
With parents' permission, this student detailed the initial intensity.
And then he just started, and I got up, I started running, he started shooting like 10 times.
Officials say 2 students and 2 teachers were shot and killed as law enforcement encircled the school. Students huddled together on the football field, and parents rushed, even on foot, to the school to check on their children.
My heart started beating. I was actually on my way to go to work, and I just dropped everything.
Officials say the 14-year-old shooter will be charged as an adult for murder. A new school year, but the trauma from school shootings has been persistent across the country.
Keep your head up, keep your head up.
Barrow County, just the latest to be plagued with pain.
My heart hurts for these kids. My heart hurts for our community. But I want to make it very clear that hate will not prevail in this county.
Back here live from Grady Memorial Hospital, maybe this stat does not surprise you. From 2020 to 2023 here in Georgia, hospital injuries tied to firearms increased 15%. Again, the patient inside suffering from a gunshot wound. We're not sure his condition, his or her condition at this hour. Hospital officials say they're waiting on the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, who is leading this probe. We're live tonight from Grady in downtown Atlanta. Patrick Quinn, Atlanta News First.
Patrick, thank you. Here in Barrow County, we have a team of reporters covering the latest on the investigation and talking with the victims, those impacted directly.
Yeah, the suspected shooter is a 14-year-old student at Appalachian High School. He surrendered peacefully. He's alive. He's expected to be tried as an adult. Our Adam Murphy just listened to a press conference held by law enforcement. Adam, the sheriff of Barrow County, he says that he is from here. He went to high school at Appalachian High School. His children go to school here. He says hate will not prevail.
Well, this was clearly personal for the sheriff, and now he said there are crime scene investigators that are here. They will continue their investigation. They still have many more interviews to conduct. So this will be an active crime scene throughout the evening hours tonight, and we hope within the next couple of hours we might get new information. But earlier, let me show you some footage that we were able to obtain from one of the students that was in a classroom. Her mother gave us permission to show this. This is video of some of the law enforcement officers early this morning around 10 o'clock rushing into a classroom to make sure students were accounted for. They were also trying to get the students out of the classroom and out of the school to a safe space back by the football stadium. And you'll see some of the law enforcement officers in tactical gear in the school. They were armed. They were trying to make sure that the students remained safe and got them out of the classroom and out of the building for that matter. But as you might imagine, a very emotional and terrifying experience for dozens upon dozens of students, whether they heard the gunfire or not. They were exposed to a very serious situation, obviously with a lot of panic involved. And this is going to take some time now for many of those involved here and the parents and others in the community to heal from this situation. I'm told that there will be no more classes for the remainder of the week here at this school, as obviously this is still being processed as a crime scene. But a tragic day for many involved, and we're going to continue to monitor any new information that we obtain. We're trying to gather more details on the victims. As we've reported, there were 2 students and there were 2 teachers that lost their lives and many others that were injured. We hope to gain some new information on them in the coming hours this evening. And we are live right here, guys, outside Appalachia High School in Barrow County. And we will give you an update as soon as we have new information.
All right, thank you, Adam. Atlanta News First Chelsea Beinhorst, she's also following another angle of the story where parents and eyewitnesses are actually challenging the narrative of the police department.
We saw many of those parents showing up here as we got here to the scene. They were frantically trying to find their loved ones. Let's bring in Chelsea now with more. Chelsea.
Yeah, guys, we're about a mile from the school on Tom Miller Road. You can see it's open to traffic at this hour, but it was one of the side roads around the school that was closed for hours. Parents were having to ditch their cars at the top of the street and then walk towards the high school to be reunited with their children. In many cases, though, they were running to try and get their kids safely from that football field next to the high school. We spoke with several of those parents. They said they had gotten in touch with their kids and they knew they were okay, but a lot of other parents had not, and they were very emotional, asking us if we knew the names of any of the students involved. As the hours passed, we saw some of those parents walking back to their cars with their kids, including Matthew Carter and his daughter Ariana. They both stopped to speak with us. She's a freshman at the high school and described hearing the gunshots.
And we run to the corner of the classroom, more gunshots are heard, we duck, and then we're just sitting there. We sit there for about 30 minutes.
I tried to get here as soon as
And Matthew was telling us as well that he also attended school at Appalachia High School, so a very emotional day for him and for his daughter. Guys, back to you.
Chelsea, thank you. We have been speaking to eyewitnesses who were classmates. A classmate told us, 11th grader, she was in class the same time earlier this morning with the suspected shooter. She said he left the classroom, then attempted to come back, apparently had a weapon on him. Students would not open the door, and then he began shooting at the class next to them.
And what was so interesting about what she had to say is that she said they were looking for this student before the gunfire erupted. So something had happened. We're just not clear exactly what.
But I know that right now, Blake Devine, he is outside of a church in Winder where people are trying to process what has happened here tonight. And Blake, the community of Winder, they are just embracing and grabbing everyone and saying, it's okay, you can grieve, we understand, this is traumatic.
Sean and Blair, it's a very sad and somber day here in Winder. We're actually in Jug Tavern Park. This is where a vigil will take place in a little less than 60 minutes at 7 p.m. They're just starting to get set up here. And local leaders say they'll grieve and gather following today's tragedy. We now know that at least 4 people have died, including 2 students and 2 teachers. 9 others were shot, taken to local hospitals all across the metro. The shooter, a 14-year-old student who is alive and currently in custody. Keeping contacts, Appalachia High School is only about 8 minutes away from where we are now in the heart of Winder. We're expecting a large turnout tonight as this vigil will take place once again at 7 p.m. Anyone is invited to attend. For now, reporting live in Winder, Blake Devine, Atlanta News First.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. We may pick it up a little bit later. 4 people are killed, 2 students and 2 teachers. 2 students and 2 teachers. 9 others have been injured. It was a 14-year-old with a weapon that assaulted and killed those people. This is not the first school shooting that I have talked about on this program. This is not the first school shooting that I personally have been involved with as a police officer. I've covered school shootings over in Littleton, Colorado. Unfortunately, I was there after the shooting happened. Within a few days after the shooting happened. Folks, I am grieved. I'm terribly grieved. It is no wonder that police officers quit their departments when they go to these locations after the fact. It's no wonder they quit and leave their departments. I was one who helped exercise people, police officers, to be able to respond to shootings like this. I assisted many locations around this country. When there was a shooting in San Diego County, in Santee, California, just east of San Diego City, that high school shooting should never have happened, and yet it did. I got a call that morning from one of the captains in my department asking me to respond, only because I had been out in Colorado after the shooting at Chatfield High School. I was the only one in San Diego County that had any inkling of how to operate after the fact. I went out there and helped the local sheriff, who was responsible for law enforcement duties in Santee, California. I went out there and responded there, and many other department officers were there, including 2 different SWAT teams. Later, I went out to Chula Vista, California. El Cajon High School in El Cajon, California. It wasn't Chula Vista, it was El Cajon, California. I was out there after school shooting there. Again, I was only one of a couple people ever in San Diego, California that had any experience with school shootings. It's a sad day. This time there were 4 people killed. I hope to pray that this doesn't continue. It's continued for a lot of years since the 1990s. I'm sad to say. I wanted you to know about it because this is an important case study. The Democrat communists have orchestrated this. I do not know for a fact that the Democrat Communist Party had anything to do with this 14-year-old boy that did this today. But the Democrat Communist Party is alive and well and trying to take weapons away from lawful weapon holders here in this country. And this is just one more thing that they're going to key in on. I'm going to say that right now. This is going to happen. Within the matter of hours, we're going to hear from Harris and Walsh, and we're going to continue hearing about it until after November 5th. We need to make sure that we are well aware of what's going on. Now, yes, I'm going to get to volcanoes and earthquakes in just a minute. I think we need to talk about this. We need to be able to address this to our families, to our own children, to our own grandchildren. We need to talk to them about this because they probably have already heard about it and they have questions. Please do not be afraid to answer their questions. Make sure you can get answers. Please don't be afraid to talk to your children and your grandchildren. If your fellow family members have questions or need to talk, let them talk. It's very important that the grief cycle gets solved. People do not have to keep this welled up inside of them. That makes matters worse. Folks, we have a society right now that is out of control. We have a society right now that is trying to bankrupt the rest of us. We have a society right now that's out to end society as we know it. They have no clue what they're doing. Well, maybe they do, I'm sorry. Maybe they do have a clue what they're doing. But they want to destroy us. They want to destroy the United States of America as we know it. We need to come to a coalition together. We need to come to a coalition together. We cannot let this continue. We need to take control of what we're doing, what we're saying, and we need to make sure that we are in control at the ballot box. Now, I did not want to turn this into a political discussion, but we've turned this into a political discussion on our program before. But I want to make sure we address this. We cannot just let it go. I've had a number of people throughout the past months that have come back and haunted me, come back and criticized me because I've talked about politics. Politics can happen at the football game. Politics happen on baseball and basketball games. Politics happen everywhere where we go. I'm not afraid to address it. I'm not afraid to talk about it. We can't forget our families. We cannot forget our families. Now, I want to talk about a movie that's coming out on September 12th that is going to address exactly what we're talking about tonight. This movie that's coming out in the theaters on September 12th is called God Is Not Dead. I have not seen it yet. I have seen trailers for it. Some of you also may have seen trailers for it. I urge you all to go see it. I originally was going to play a trailer for you, but I do not want to get a copyright strike. I urge you all to go see that movie. That will open your eyes. That will help you understand what we are up against. And I don't care whether you are Democrat or you're Republican. I don't care whether you're independent or libertarian. We want to be well informed when we go to the ballot box in November. I am not putting any of you down whether you're Democrat or Republican. I'm not doing that. I am putting down the politicians though. The politicians in our society right now need to be taken down. They need to be removed from our country. They need to be removed from our capital city in Washington, D.C. They need to be removed from our capitals of our states all across this country and around the world. We cannot continue living in a society that we've been living in. I'm just saying that right now. We cannot continue living in this society the way we're living. Whether you live in England, whether you live in Canada, whether you live in Australia, whether you live in Japan or Argentina. I don't care whether you live in Costa Rica or Mexico. I don't care whether you live in Sweden, Norway, or Finland, or Denmark, or Iceland, Romania. It doesn't matter where you live. However, it does matter what is happening to our countries, our cities, and our towns and our neighborhoods. We cannot allow this to continue any longer. We have people going out and attacking apartment complexes all over this country in the United States. The first was over in Aurora, Colorado, now in Chicago and New York and all around this country. These people from these gangs need to be stopped. These people in these gangs need to be stopped. And I don't care what power it takes, they need to be stopped. These gangs were let into this country by Joseph Robinette Biden and Miss Camelback Harris. These people came in through this border, our southern border. Over 20 million people have come across this border. Prisoners from various countries that have been in prison, gang members. We have had terrorists come into this country from around the world, in the Middle East included. It has to be stopped. We have Chinese communists here from China. It's no small wonder we find wrist tags from the drug cartels that have been taken off before people reach the border, dumped at the United States-Mexican border. Wrist tags with different color tags signifying what they owe the drug cartels for getting them there. We see identification cards from all over the world. Canada, Russia, England, China. We see identification cards from the Middle East as well. Why? Because those people that are coming across don't want their identities known. But once they get into this country, the United States of America, and other countries, they cause problems. They start rioting. They start killing people and kidnapping people. They start killing our young children. They start kidnapping our young children and young women. Millions of children have died as a result of sex trafficking. Millions of women have also died from sex trafficking. And yet, this president in charge right now and his entire administration are leading the whole way on the sex trafficking scene. They're leading the way at taking over our country. The elites of this world are backing them. And these people, as I said before, need to be stopped. They need to be stopped in the worst way, and it has to come to an elite stop. Period. It cannot continue. Now, I did not mean to turn this into a political discussion, but quite frankly, I'm very upset, as I know many of you are. I worry about you guys. I pray for all of you. Those of you that have not even seen this program before, I've even prayed for you. I want the best for everybody. And I don't care where you live, country, city, state, wherever you live, I pray for all of you. I pray for your safety. I pray for your well-being. I pray for the safety and well-being of your children and grandchildren. Every day I worry about you as I research topics to talk about that you folks want to know about. I am here for you. If there's something that you need me to research, tell me. And I'll uncover, knock over rocks and anything else I have to do to get the story straight. We are in a fight for our lives. We are literally in a fight for our lives. It used to be that you and I could wander around our neighborhoods until dark. Once it was dark, we were told by our parents we need to be home. And that's where we were. That is not the case in today's society. Today's society is very dangerous. Our parents want to keep, our parents, us included, want to keep track of our children and grandchildren. We want to make sure they're safe. When I was a kid, we were out to just before dark, or just after dark. We were all over the place. I was over in a national forest with some of my friends building a fort. I was all over the national forest when it was wintertime, sleigh riding down hills. My parents knew where we were. But anymore, that's not the case, excuse me, because it's too dangerous. Right now, we need to be very careful with what we're doing ourselves. I want to tell you I have your backs. I have your backs. I care about you. This is a discussion of morality. This is a discussion of our very being. It's a morality discussion more than a political discussion. I'm talking morality. I'm talking about our safety. Okay? I remember when we were around 6 or 7 years old, we're playing good cop, bad cop. We're playing cowboys and Indians. There was a show called the FBI. At the time, the FBI was a very sacred and responsible organization. There was a show called the FBI with Efren Zimbalist Jr., who was a lead actor. We all looked up to him. I ran around the neighborhood with a makeshift ID that I made out of cardboard, and it was folded in half, and when we opened it, we said, FBI, you're under arrest. FBI, we need to talk to you. Yes, that's what we did. But we can't even trust our own law enforcement organizations now. Yes, there are good cops. There are bad cops. But what happened today in Georgia cannot be allowed to continue. Weapons getting in the hands of young people and ending other people's lives. It cannot happen again. Songstress Griffin is asking what happened today. For those of you that weren't here when I started this program, 4 people have been killed in Georgia in a school shooting, with a 14-year-old kid in custody. 2 children were killed, along with 2 teachers, and 9 others are recovering in hospitals, and hopefully will recover. But folks, we need to take control of our society. You and I. If we don't do it, these communists will. We talked about communism about a week ago. I don't like it. None of us should like it. Those people that are being influenced by the Democrat Communist Party have no clue what communism really is. But if you get to the point, probably by the end of this year, if Camelback Harris and Walsh get into power, it's over. Our rights will be over. It cannot be allowed to continue. We cannot allow this to continue at all. Now, I have been taken to task by people that hate President Trump. At this point, I don't really give a flying rat's Frosty Keister. At least President Trump is an honest person. Yes, he's done some things in his past that I would not be caught doing. However, he has the right idea. 4 years ago, he didn't do anything wrong. He was prospering this country, and yet we give the Democrats 4 years and they tear it apart. They raise our taxes 40%. They raise our prices out of this world. 65% price increase. Inflation has taken over. Our gas prices have gone out of sight. When President Trump took over, gas prices were just barely $2 a gallon where I used to live. Now those gas prices are upwards of $3.91 to $4 a gallon in Salt Lake City. In San Diego, where I used to live, gas prices are $7+ a gallon. That's incredible. That's incredible. It should not have been allowed to happen. But that's what did. It has to be turned around or our society is a goner. Okay? We can't let it continue. Miss Constitution Right says prayer is our weapon. I agree. And we need to remember that. We need to remember that. Now, I'm not going to put President Obama down. I don't like him. I don't like him at all. I don't like his wife. I don't like Harris. I don't like Biden. I don't like any of their administration. They all belong in prison. Some of the politicians that were on the January 6th committee belong in prison themselves. What did they do? They gathered false information against President Trump and other people that are now in prison. They gathered false information about President Trump and others that are now in prison. I understand there's over 100 people in prison right now because of what the January 6th committee did. And when the January 6th committee dissolved themselves, guess what they did? They destroyed all of the evidence. They destroyed all of the evidence that they had gathered. Jerry Nadler, a Democrat from California. Jerry Nadler gathered false information and brought it before Congress and the American people. He made it sound like it came from President Trump, which it did not. Jerry Nadler was not the only politician that did that. Pencil Neck Adam Schiff did the same thing. We even had a lady Republican from Montana that did the same thing. She was finally voted out of office. But because she had been a congresswoman, she still has some power. The only reason that Biden got in power was because of tampering with ballots. Presently, we have ballot boxes that are unguarded, unprotected, literally all around the United States, and yet we have a United States election coming up. Those ballot boxes probably already contain ballots, and who knows where those are right now. It's unreal. We need to get cameras on those ballot boxes. We need to make sure those ballot boxes are being watched, to make sure ballots are not being stuffed. People carrying 50, 60, 5, 10, 40 ballots need to be stopped. Ballot stuffing is not new. It's been ongoing for a long amount of years, but it must be stopped. We must seal the United States southern border. We must seal the United States southern border, and also the border between Canada and the United States. People need to be vetted. People need to be vetted. If they cannot be rightly identified, they must be refused entry. If they cannot be correctly identified, they must be refused entry. And if they're refused entry, they need to be held for further investigation. And if they are found to be falsely in our country, Canada, or anywhere else, they need to be deported back to where they came from. And I'm saying that about England. I'm saying that about Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark, Romania, the Czech Republic, Iceland, Mexico. We cannot allow this spread of communism to continue. Not now, not ever. They're destroying our freedom. They are destroying our religion, our freedom to speak. They're destroying our right to worship as we choose. It cannot continue. It cannot continue. This Constitution right says they will not take my God away from me ever. I hope that doesn't happen. But that's exactly what they want. That is exactly what they want. They want to destroy us physically. They want to destroy us emotionally. They want to destroy us spiritually and psychologically as well. They want to completely destroy us so that we are begging for our freedoms, so that we are begging for whatever they can give us. We cannot allow that to happen. Catherine Sigerson is in Canada, and she says Canada is cracking down foreign students working and permits. I wish that was the case here in the United States. Anybody is allowed to be here. In California, Mr. Idiot, Governor Newscum, NEWSCUM, he is scum. That's why I changed his name. Even President Trump is using that euphemism on Newscum. Newscum is giving illegal aliens $150,000 in loan to buy a house. And if you didn't know it, guess what? Not only is it a loan, but it does not have to be repaid until the house is sold. So any one of those illegal aliens can live there for free as long as they don't sell the house. Isn't that interesting? That we are giving away our homes basically for free. We're giving away our homes for free just so these illegals will have a place to live. That is wrong. Biden wants to give them at least $25,000 apiece as a way to generate income so they can buy a home. Why didn't they do it for me? The U.S. government did not do that for me. My government in California didn't do that for me when I lived there. And yet they're doing that for these illegal aliens. They're giving them $5,000 a month to live. $5,000 a month to live. I don't get that here. I don't get that here. I get less than $1,800 a month to live on every month. And yet my rent just went up $100. My internet went up $100. Unreal. Unreal. I'm not sure if I can even pay my bills this month. I'm going to pay my internet bill so that I can keep broadcasting this program. That's why I keep asking for your help, keeping my program on the air for all of you. Now, folks, it's hard. I know it's hard for everybody. Like I said, I also need your help. Now, last night after our program was over, I got off the air and I checked YouTube Studio. I told you at the beginning of last night's program, YouTube had unsubscribed 8 people. We got those 8 people back by the end of our program. That is another hint to all of us. We need to keep our eyes and ears on our subscriptions to this program. Make sure you keep subscribed to this program. My son Paul Colo is here. Welcome, Paul. I appreciate you being here. Paul is my stepson, but I don't call him my stepson because I love him like my own blood son. Paul, thank you for being here. Folks, we need to make sure we keep our eyes on our subscriptions because YouTube keeps unsubscribing people. If you become unsubscribed or you find yourself that you're not subscribed, please subscribe to this program. Right next to the subscription button, there's a little bell icon. Click on the little bell icon. That will get you notified when we come on the air. When you click on the little bell icon, there's a drop-down menu of 3 items that are going to come up. Click on the word ALL, all. That should get you notified when we come on the air. But be advised, YouTube does not like me. YouTube, I don't believe, likes this channel. And as a result, they don't always notify any of you when you guys, when I come on the air. So please check on, make sure you're subscribed, number one, and make sure you're notified when we come on the air. It's very important. Now, I appreciate each one of you. Like I've told you in the past, if you have a question or a comment, after our program is over, go down to the comment section right below our video and leave me a comment. If you have a question, go over to our email address, rltnspdema@gmail.com. I will go to my email every day like I've always done, and if you left me a comment, I will answer it within a very short time period. Miss Constitution Right says, yes, they block my comments sometimes. Yes, they do. Let me tell you about someone else. NCWQ Worldwide News and Disasters Explorer. She did a video on her own channel today. And there were many comments that were left after her video was over. Guess what? YouTube took down her chat. YouTube took down her comments on her after her program was over. That is just like YouTube. YouTube is a communist-run company. YouTube, Google is a communist-run company, influenced by the Biden communist administration. They have in fact admitted it, as has Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook even admitted that the Biden administration had come to him and come to his underlings at Facebook and asked them to censor people that were leaving comments on YouTube, or comments on Facebook, excuse me. Zuckerberg said that Biden administration had come to him, and yes, they had censored people's comments on Facebook. He admitted it. That means Zuckerberg had violated our First Amendment rights. Congress should have had Zuckerberg arrested. Violating our constitutional rights, our freedom of speech, is an arrestable offense. Zuckerberg and his underlings should have been arrested. They're not. They're still allowed to be on our streets. YouTube continues to do this. That's one reason why my last channel was taken off the air, with 25,000 subscribers, taken off the air, because YouTube censored me. It should not have been done. Don Patogas here in the chat says YouTube has done that to several channels. I agree. I've seen him do it. YouTube has censored Glenn Beck to the point that Glenn Beck cannot any longer broadcast his entire program or even snippets of his program here on YouTube. Glenn Beck has other people post his comments or his programs on YouTube. The same thing happens with Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino left YouTube for Rumble because YouTube told him that he was a goner. But other people put Dan Bongino's information back up on YouTube. It's incredible what YouTube's gotten away with. It's unreal. I love you guys. I care about you. More than anything. My wife and family love you guys. You saw my son Paul here tonight. We care about you. Now folks, I want to get into earthquakes. Before I get over into the Pacific Northwest that I intend to talk about tonight, I want to go and talk about earthquakes that have happened around the world. So I'm going to go over here and open up the USGS map here. I'm going to take my banner down. I'm going to take my mug down here. I want to talk about earthquakes around the world, and then we'll get back to the United States in a few minutes. One of the earthquakes that I heard about earlier today was another earthquake off the coast of Panama. This was a moderate earthquake this time. Instead of a 5.0, this was a moderate 4.8 earthquake. USBS called it a light earthquake. A 4.8 earthquake happened just south of Arenas, Panama, 293 kilometers southwest of Arenas, Panama, 10 kilometers deep. Wouldn't you know, over here in northern Chile and southern Peru, we have 3 earthquakes that USGS wants to tell us about. Come on, Peru, southern Peru. This is a 4.0 moderate earthquake, 125 kilometers deep. Northern Chile, Arica, Chile, another 4.0 earthquake there. South of there, Oligue, Chile, a 4.1 earthquake, 110 kilometers deep. But folks, that's not all. Be advised, there's 20 other earthquakes here as well that USBS doesn't want us to know about. Linda L. just gave us a $50 super chat. God bless you. Linda, I'm giving you a EMA sticker here. An EMA sticker. I'm also giving you a thumbs up for that on your super chat. God bless you, Linda. We appreciate that so much. That means so much to me and my family. God bless you. Anyway, let's keep going here on the world map. I'm going over here to the South Pacific. Hihufotonga. This is a 4.5 earthquake here. This is 210 kilometers deep. This, I'm going to say, is almost a moderately deep earthquake. Almost. This is considered to be a shallow earthquake. A moderately deep earthquake would be 350 kilometers deep. This is only 210 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow quake. Further south here in Vanuatu, East-Anglo Vanuatu, 214 kilometers southeast of East-Anglo Vanuatu. This is another 5.0 large earthquake. It came out as a 5.5 and downgraded immediately to a 5.0, a half magnitude downgrade. 109 kilometers deep, still a very shallow earthquake. Further north, the Solomon Islands had a pretty large earthquake, a 5.3 earthquake here in the Solomon Islands. This was only 11 kilometers east-southeast of Lota, Solomon Islands. These people on Lota, Solomon Islands felt this quake. We don't have any reports of damage or injuries here, but as we gather the information, we'll pass it on. Over here in Timor-Leste, Indonesia, this is another large 5.0 earthquake. We go north, over into the Philippines again. I'm going to zoom in because this is just off the east coast of Luzon, Philippines. We talked yesterday about 3 earthquakes over here near Luzon, Philippines. This is another large 5.0 earthquake. This is near Casuguran, Philippines. My son served in that city. Casuguran, Philippines. My son was a missionary there. This is a 5.0 earthquake, 28 kilometers east-northeast of Casuguran, Philippines. This is also 10 kilometers deep, 6.2 miles deep. Diane Kellman says she's here she was attending the class. Diane, welcome. We appreciate you. We appreciate you a lot. Let's back out of this earthquake here. They're not showing any earthquakes in Japan. There are earthquakes in Japan. They're not showing any earthquakes in China. There are earthquakes in China. They're not showing any earthquakes in Afghanistan or Tajikistan or Kazakhstan or Iran or Iran or Iraq. Nothing. They're not showing Turkey either. There are about 40 earthquakes in Turkey. 25 earthquakes in the Turkey-Syria border region. There are another 30 earthquakes probably all around the rest of the country. They're not talking about, are they? They're not showing the 20 earthquakes over in Greece. They're not showing the 30 earthquakes over here in Italy, are they? Why not? Why not? They're not showing any earthquakes over here in Germany or Switzerland or France or even Spain. Why not? They're not showing any earthquakes over in England. I don't have any reports of earthquakes in England. But over in Scandinavia, there are earthquakes that USGS is not reporting. Go figure. Iceland is having earthquakes. They're not showing those earthquakes either. Why not? Earthquakes at this volcano under the ice. I told you about the 5.0 earthquake here yesterday and other aftershocks caused by magma coming into this volcano. Down here to the south, another volcano under ice here, also getting hit with earthquakes. But that's not all, folks. There's more. Down here in Iceland, in the Reykjanes Peninsula, we still have a volcano erupting north of Grindavik, Iceland. Grindavik, Iceland is a port city on the southwestern part of the Reykjanes Peninsula. Earlier this year, there was earthquakes and volcanoes that erupted just south and west of Grindavik and north of Grindavik. Now we have a fissure that opened up just about a week or so ago. I think it was on a Friday it erupted over here near Storefell. This volcano right here. Just west of that volcano, fissure erupted. 13 kilometers long. Now that fissure is going down in activity, but there's still the fissure eruption, and the fissure eruption has resulted in craters being formed by the fountaining lava. Craters being formed by the fountaining lava. It's ongoing. It's going to continue going for a while now. Okay? Still, this wonderful place up here in Svartsengi, the power plant, and the Blue Lagoon Spa here, they are fine. Authorities built a wall around the power plant and the Blue Lagoon Spa. A 90-foot high wall around this area. 30 meters high. They also did the same thing down here in Grindavik. They built a wall around Grindavik so in case any more volcanic lava got to this area that the city would be spared. Even after this current eruption, they evacuated people. But now they've allowed people back into the city. The fish processing plants over here in the harbor of Grindavik are operational now. It's still going on. USGS is not talking about any of this, are they? Not at all. Heaven forbid. They're not showing any earthquakes over here in eastern Canada or the United States, but there are earthquakes there. Last night I did not talk about earthquakes over here in Puerto Rico. Guess what? There are earthquakes over here in Puerto Rico. Today, over here on the eastern edge of Puerto Rico here. This is a 2.2 earthquake here. 2.2 earthquake 6 kilometers southeast of Bahamas, Puerto Rico. Bahamas, Puerto Rico. Bajandas. 9.6 kilometers deep. This earthquake over in central Puerto Rico. This is a 2.1 minor earthquake here. A 2.1 minor earthquake in central Puerto Rico. We continue to see earthquakes over here in southwestern Puerto Rico, 4 of them today. Why are we having 4 earthquakes over here in southwestern Puerto Rico? For those of you that are brand new to this program, Santa Miranda says she's from Puerto Rico. She gets many minutes in Villalba, Puerto Rico. Over here in southwestern Puerto Rico, what happened? December 26th and again on September 28th, or excuse me, not September, December 26th and December 28th, 2019, what happened? That wonderful organization that started up here in the United States. A wonderful organization that started up here in the United States, and I'm going to just bring up our webcam really quick so I can show you this organization right here. Please do not put this in chat. If you put this in chat, it will be removed. I do not want this word in chat because I don't want YouTube taking this channel down because of it. But this organization right here, they opened up their organization and turned on their power plants. Turned on their electronic radio frequency towers, their antennas, in Norway, Russia, and northwestern Australia. They turned on their transmitters and they triangulated southwestern Puerto Rico. That caused an 8.0 earthquake to occur in southwestern Puerto Rico on December 26, 2019. An 8.0 earthquake there. December 28th, they did it again. This time causing an 8.4 major earthquake to happen. They killed people. They destroyed buildings. They destroyed homes. They caused a major earthquake to hit there. On December 28th, I'm going to zero in to the town where it happened at. Right here. Down here in this town here, along the coast, there was a very tall sandstone sculpture that was naturally made. A sandstone arch, similar to what you would see in Arches National Park, Utah. That 8.4 magnitude major quake hit here on December 28th and destroyed it. It destroyed it. And those organizations and the elites in our society got away with it. They killed people. They destroyed property. Those earthquakes were felt all around Puerto Rico. And they got away with it. Canadian Patriot 1 is asking me to tell him when we want him on the air. I originally was going to have him and our dear friend over in southwestern Canada here on the show. and I may very well still do that. Dave, you and Barry stand by for just a few minutes. Barry Prince is probably standing by with Dave right now. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. This is a 2.2 earthquake. Magas Arriba, Puerto Rico. Magas Arriba, Puerto Rico. A 2.2 earthquake. Just south of there, out in the ocean. This is a 3.0 earthquake, 7 kilometers southeast of Indios, Puerto Rico. Further out here to the west, Porguera, Puerto Rico, where my friend Dominic lives. Dominic is a captain for the Puerto Rican police force. A 2.6 earthquake there, 9.3 kilometers deep. This is another 2.3 earthquake just off the coast of Porgueras, Puerto Rico, 9.3 kilometers deep. Unreal. Unreal. Those earthquakes are still hitting in southwestern Puerto Rico are aftershocks of those two huge major earthquakes that happened back on December 26th and December 28th, 2019. Almost 5 years later. 4.5 years later. And we're still seeing aftershocks from those quakes. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now, I want to tell you about what's going on in the Pacific Northwest. Okay? USGS is talking about an explosion near Port Angeles, Washington. Port Angeles, Washington. It's not an explosion, guys. There was no explosion there at all. I checked. Let's zoom into it and let you see where it's at. It's insane what these people will do. A 7.0 earthquake. Interesting. Look where it happened. This is in a forested area here near Port Angeles, Washington. A 0.7 microquake. This is not an explosion. This was not an explosion. This was a tremor. A tremor over there in Washington State. I don't know why the USGS continues giving us this information when it's false. It's false. They do not even show us when we have earthquakes. And I'll prove it in just a few minutes. Richard Smith says more angry trees. Yeah. More angry trees. Incredible. Just incredible. Up in northern Washington here. Rockport, Washington. I was going to pull up a seismogram from Rockport, Washington, but it was trash. Again, falsified information from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Putting up false information. Fact. Fact. Going over here east of Mount Rainier. A 1.6 tremor. I'm going to show you a lot of tremors in just a few minutes at Mount Rainier. And earthquakes there as well. Let's go down here to Mount St. Helens. This allegedly is a microquake. A microquake above sea level. This happens to be 7 kilometers deep. 3 miles deep. Far below sea level. A microquake far below sea level, and USGS is reporting it as above sea level. What about the Hui? This is a 0.8 microquake southwest of Mount St. Helens. Further south, right here, White Salmon, Washington. White Salmon, Washington. Just north of the river. I wonder why. I wonder why. Let me take down this webcam so you can see it. White Salmon, Washington. A 1.2 alleged explosion. It's not an explosion, guys. It's in a forested area again. It's in a forested area. Okay? It's incredible what they'll purport. Over here, another volcano. Mount Hood. Mount Hood. It's in the foothills of Mount Hood at Government Camp. 5 kilometers supposedly northeast of Government Camp, Washington. Let's zoom in here. I want to show you this, and I'm going to show you something else in a minute. Another seismogram from Mount Hood, showing that these guys are full of crap. They say this is above sea level. Another minus 0.1 microquake. Above sea level. Interesting. This happens to be 7 kilometers deep. Over 3 miles deep. It's not above sea level, guys. Again, the USGS is lying. The USGS is lying. Further south here in Oregon, Kaiser, Oregon, a 1.2 tremor. Over near the coast, another explosion at Lincoln Beach, southeast of Lincoln Beach. 9 kilometers from Lincoln Beach. A 0.6 explosion again. I call bullhunky. Bullhunky. Again, it's in a forested area northwest of this huge quarry there in the mountainous region over here. It's not an explosion at all. A 0.6 microquake there. They will call whatever they can so that they don't have to admit there's a problem here. So they don't have to admit that there's an issue with the Cascadia subduction zone. Further out here to the east, another earthquake out here in Lapine, Oregon. A 0.2 microquake out here in Lapine, Oregon. This is the second one since yesterday. Unreal. Another explosion here. Looking Glass, Oregon. Looking Glass, Oregon. Again, it's right in the middle of a forested area. Spontaneous combustus carnivorous. It's not an explosion, it's a 1.0 tremor. South of there we have another tremor here. This is 0.8 microquake. Not an explosion. This is 17 kilometers supposedly west-southwest of Riddle, Oregon. Look where it's at. It's not an explosion. It's not an explosion, guys. USGS is hiding all kinds of information. Lying about information. And another one here. Central Point, Oregon. Another 1.5 supposedly explosion. A 1.5 tremor here. 6 kilometers, 3 miles west of Central Point, Oregon. Look at that. Why would they have an explosion out here again in a wooded area, a forested area? The quarry is a long distance away from there. Incredible what they're saying. We've been showing you this kind of stuff for years, and yet they continue to get away with it. They continue to get away with it. Over here in the southern Cascadia subduction area, we have no earthquakes to speak of around the Triple Junction area of the Gorda Escarpment, the San Andreas Fault, and the Cascadia subduction zone. None here. But let's go into the Pacific Northwest. I want to show you something. But before we do that, let's go over here to the Aleutian Islands. This is a 4.3 moderate earthquake west-southwest of Adak, Alaska. A 4.3 earthquake over here in the Aleutian Islands. West-southwest of Adak, Alaska. 62 and a half kilometers deep. Fascinating. Fascinating. It's interesting to note, we've talked about large, we've talked about very strong 5.0, 6.0 earthquakes here over by Kamchatka Peninsula. And yet all we have here is a 4.3 moderate earthquake. This seismic energy is taking its time going into Alaska. Taking its time to go into Alaska. One more earthquake I want to talk about, and then we'll go over to the Pacific Northwest. Katavik, Alaska today. Up here near the north shore of Alaska where the oil and gas pumping operations are at. This is a 3.2 earthquake. 67 kilometers south-southwest of Katavik, Alaska. I spent a long time looking at Katavik, Alaska during the past, I want to say, 7 years. Ever since 2 days before Ridgecrest, we had a 5.0 earthquake here at Katavik, Alaska. A large 5.0 earthquake here at Katavik, Alaska. Today, a 3.2 small earthquake here near Katavik, Alaska. Okay? Significant. I believe it's significant. Now let's go in and talk about and show you seismograms showing you activity in the Pacific Northwest. And yes, there is plenty of it. Plenty of it. First thing I want to show you is earthquakes. Earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest. Why? Well, actually, before I show you this, go through this seismogram here, I want to show you other activity here. Okay? I want to show you the tremor map. The good old tremor map that Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has to show us. This is yesterday's tremor map. Yesterday's tremor map, they showed us 130 epicenters over here on Vancouver Island. 130 epicenters here at Vancouver Island. Very interesting to say the least. Let's zoom in here and take a look at what happened. Well, dadgummit, they're not wanting to let us zoom in here. But you can see where all these tremors happened. 130 epicenters. 130 earthquakes here. Anywhere from 0.9 all the way down to 1.1 earthquakes. 1.1 tremors here. Okay? Anywhere from 0.9 to 1.1 tremors here. over on Vancouver Island. Usually we have earthquakes over around the Puget Sound area. We have a bunch of tremors and or earthquakes around Mount Rainier, Central Oregon, or even Southern Oregon around Medford, or even down here in Shasta National Park. They're not showing anything like that. Well, tonight I'm going to show you earthquakes here. I'm going to show you earthquakes that they're not telling us about. Why not? Because they don't want anybody to know what's going on. This is the seismogram over in Clatsop County, Warrenton, Oregon. Clatsop County, Warrenton, Oregon. Now, we don't have any real earthquakes here, but we have tremors. We have tremors. We have one set of earthquakes over here yesterday evening. This was after 8:42 p.m. last night, or not 8:42, 6:42 p.m. last night. We have some earthquakes here. 2.0, 2.5, 2.9 earthquakes yesterday evening. Then all we had were tremors until we got over here to just before 7:44 a.m. this morning. Again, it appears to be 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes. And again, after 7:44 a.m. this morning. 6:43, 6:44, 7:44 this morning. Okay? Right before that, at approximately 7:31 a.m. this morning, we had a 2.0 earthquake. And on these lines, we're also seeing what we call magma movement. Magma movement. Magma pulse signals. The thinner the line, the less magma. The thicker the line, the more magma. What happened here at just after 7:31 a.m. this morning? 2.0, 2.2 earthquake. We see the line getting thicker here. Magma caused that earthquake. And we see other tremors here caused by magma going through the magma channels here. Magma headed out to the volcanoes. Okay? That's what's actually happening here at Clatsop County, Oregon. Okay? You're seeing it here. Again, this is not shown on the USGS map. Why not? Inquiring minds want to know. Let's go up to Fildago Island, Oregon. Look at this. Or Washington. Fildago Island, Washington. Again, tremors. And yes, again, we have some earthquakes here later this afternoon. At 1700 hours last night, 5 p.m. last night, at the top of this seismogram, we're seeing magma coming through magma channels here. This is northern Washington. Magma possibly headed for Baker Mountain, Mount Baker volcano. The thicker the lines, the more magma headed out there through the magma channel. And you're seeing subsequent tremors all throughout this seismogram. Why is USGS not showing this activity? This is yesterday. This is yesterday until it gets down here to midnight. Midnight is over here about a third of the way down here on the left-hand side. They should have been showing these tremors. Why not? because they don't want to admit that there's tremors and or earthquakes here. What are we seeing today? A lot of tremors and several earthquakes. Several earthquakes. One earthquake occurred after 10:30 this morning. About 10:30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1:38 or 10:38 this morning. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Then again at 11:40, I want to say 11:41 a.m. this morning, we had another 2.8, 2.9 earthquake on the blue lines here. The rest of these are just tremors here. Tremors that should have been included. The tremors last night should have been included on the tremor map, but they're not. Interesting. But that's not all, folks. Let me show you another seismogram here. Look at this. This is the Fish and Game Wildlife Field Station at Nakata, Washington. Look at all these tremors that should have been reported on that same tremor map that Pacific Northwest Seismic Network put out last night. Unreal. They are not talking about any of these. And look what happened after midnight last night, early this morning. Especially after 6 a.m. this morning. Look at the 2.0 earthquakes. Look at the other tremors here as well. And look at this earthquake here after 2:35 p.m. this afternoon. A 2.6, 2.7 earthquake this afternoon. Now, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network may put out the seismogram showing the earthquakes today. I shouldn't say the seismogram, the tremor map showing the earthquakes and tremors today. They better well show more earthquakes than they're showing on today's map. They better well be showing all these earthquakes over here in Washington and Oregon, because they're not showing them right now. Okay? This is all off along the coast of Washington. Okay? Let me show you where. This is the map where the Fish and Wildlife Station is over there in Washington. It's on the barrier island here. Okay? They well better be showing this. They better be showing it. How about Grays Harbor, Washington? Look at this. More tremors here. More tremors here. That's not all, folks. There's more than that. Guemes, Washington. Guemes Island, Washington. Look at this. Yes, there were some tremors last night, just after 5 p.m. But what happened this morning? What happened this morning between about 10:30 this morning and 2:30 this afternoon, just after I pulled this seismogram? What happened? What happened? Look at these earthquakes. Look at these earthquakes here. We have an earthquake just after 11:01, nearly at 11:02 this morning, on that black line on the left. A couple of minutes later, we had another couple, back to back. Unreal, huh? And look at all these tremors here. That's not all, folks. There's more. How about Klamath Falls, Washington, or Oregon? Klamath Falls, Oregon. Look at the tremors here. No, there's not quite as many at Klamath Falls, but there's enough. And yes, they do show Klamath Falls on the tremor map. They better include these as well. Last night and today. How about Loomy Island, Northern Washington? Look at this. Look at these earthquakes here at the top. They did not include these on the tremor map from last night. Yesterday. Why not? How about these earthquakes today? After 7 a.m. on the black line here. 2.7, 2.8 earthquakes. How about after 9 a.m. this morning? 9:02 a.m. this morning, 2.5 earthquake. Several minutes later, there's a 2.8 minor earthquake. Look at all these earthquakes. And yes, we have some tremors here. They better put these on the map today. Unreal. How about Montesano, Washington? Right there. Last night they did not include this earthquake over here. Actually, it was a tremor. I'm sorry, not an earthquake, a tremor. This happened after 7:15, actually 7:17 p.m. last night. Just minor tremors. Minor tremors early this morning as well. And then, over here on the right-hand bottom side, this is 2:14 p.m. this afternoon. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. They better show that today as well. They better. Going back to the coast. NEMA site, Pacific County, Washington. Look at this. Now, most of these tremors are today. But look at the tremors here. Non-stop tremors after 7 a.m. this morning. Non-stop tremors after 7 a.m. this morning. There's at least 100 tremors here. And how about this earthquake this afternoon? 2:03 p.m. this afternoon, it's a 2.9 earthquake. 2.9 earthquake at the NEMA site in Pacific County, Washington, along the coast. Why is that not shown on the USGS map? It's a 2.9. So were those others earlier that I showed you. How about Orcas Island, Washington? Orcas Island, Washington. Look at these. We have magma causing tremors here. Last night. After 6 p.m. Then again after 4 a.m. this morning. On the black and the blue line here. After 4 o'clock and 4:30 this morning. Look at that. Then we have another earthquake this morning. This one was at about 8:10 a.m. this morning. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Why is that not showing on the map? It better be showing on the tremor map that they issued tonight, along with these other minor earthquakes here. Guys, there is slow slip going on. There are earthquakes going on that they're not reporting. Just like I reported the other night, last week. I believe it was Tuesday last week. I read you a report from the Journal of Science detailing what scientists called was an imminent Cascadia megathrust earthquake coming. An imminent Cascadia megathrust earthquake coming. So far I've shown you all these tremors. all these tremors. They're not being talked about. They're not being shown. Look at this. Nassau, Washington, Radar Ridge, Nassau, Washington. Look at these tremors here. And yes, we have 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes down here at the bottom. They're not talking about these at any time. This is not just happening today and last night. These are ongoing. These are ongoing. Let's go over to Elma, Washington. Sept Business Park, Elma, Washington. I want you to see this. Look at this. Tremors happening all over the place. Last night and all day today. Literally all day today, especially after 10 a.m. this morning. Look at that. And they're continuing. They're continuing. And yet they're not talking about it. Why not? How about the Tioga Law Enforcement Training Facility in Washington? The Department of Fish and Game. Look at that. More tremors. This time it's over 100 tremors. They very well better be showing all these tremors on tonight's tremor map. Look at this. They haven't been showing it till now. Why not? This is not just today. These tremors happen every day. These tremors are occurring every day. And yes, there are those of us that want some answers. There are those of us that want and need some answers. And I can continue showing more and more of these. Now, I want to show you what's going on at the volcanoes. Now it's just after 8 p.m. I want to show you what's happening at the volcanoes. This is Mount Baker. Look at this. Look at all these tremors at Mount Baker. This is a volcano at the just west of the Canadian border. Mount Baker. Yes, we have some tremors. We also have some minor earthquakes. But what is this one about here? Okay. See this one on this black line? Let's take a closer look at this. Okay. This happened after 8 a.m. this morning. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 minutes after 8 a.m. This is a 2.9 3.0 earthquake. 2.9 3.0 earthquake. And no, they're not talking about this. They're not even showing this earthquake on the earthquake map that USGS has. They're not showing anything at Mount Baker. Not a thing. I'm not done though. I'm not done by a long shot. Wait till I show you this. This is Shuxon. This is Shuxon. This is a ski resort at Mount Baker. These wavy lines are called VLF, very low frequency waves. Radio waves caused by the magma going into the volcano. The more waves you have, the more magma that is coming into this volcano. It was very light waves after 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon. That wave action really got busy just after midnight. More and more magma started coming into Mount Baker just after midnight. What happened after 7 a.m. this morning? Look at those wavy lines from 7 a.m. this morning until this evening. Look at that. Look at that. The wavy lines continued until I pulled the seismogram. That's incredible. This is Mount Baker, and yet they're not showing any activity at all at Mount Baker. I want to show you something else just south of Mount Baker. This is the Upper Baker Dam. Side to side, top to bottom tremors. Side to side, top to bottom tremors here at the Upper Baker Dam. This shows a lot of activity. A lot of tremor activity up near Mount Baker, just south of the volcano. And yet USGS is not showing anything, and USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network isn't showing squat. Yes, we had to pull the seismogram. They should be issuing a seismic advisory here. They should be issuing a seismic advisory here. Wall to wall, side to side, top to bottom tremors here. And yet they're not saying a word. Not a word. Let's go south. Well, actually, let's go south and west to Mount Constitution. Another volcano that nobody talks about. Look what's going on here. Yes, we're having minor tremors here. We're having minor earthquakes. Each individual line here is 15 minutes long. We're showing you magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals, where the magma is incoming into the magma chamber here at Constitution, and it's thinner and thicker. Thinner lines, less magma, the thicker lines, more magma. And you're seeing tremors here. Mount Constitution is not as active as Mount Baker. Sometimes it is. Let's go south again to Glacier Peak. Look at this, guys. Glacier Peak is known to have tremors. Yes, we see some tremors here. Over on the right side, on the red line here. It looks to be about a 1.5 tremor there. 1.5 tremor, just about 2:13 this morning. But what happened after 7:43 this morning? 7:43 a.m. this morning. A 3.0 earthquake. A 3.0 small earthquake here at Glacier Peak. Is it being reported on the USGS map? No, it's not. Not even close. Notice there are multiple earthquakes here, back-to-back earthquakes. That means the ground shook for a period of seconds. Probably about 10 seconds worth of ground shaking here at Glacier Peak, a volcano, caused by magma coming into the magma chamber. After that, down here on the right-hand corner here, let's zoom in here and check it out. Okay? Look what happened here. This was a 2.0 earthquake. But it's not. It's not. This is a magma pulse signal. Yes, it looks like an earthquake, but it's a magma pulse signal. And this is one of the smallest magma pulse signals that I've ever seen. Magma pulse signals are usually 23 to 24 lines high. This pulse signal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines high. This is about 26% of real world. 26% of real world. So this 3.0 earthquake may have been even larger than that. And yet, they have not even touched on this on the USGS map. No one has issued an earthquake advisory at Glacier Peak. This is a good-sized earthquake at Glacier Peak. Okay? Let's drop down to Mount Rainier. I just can't wait to show you this. This is incredible information here. Good old Mount Rainier. Look at this. This is a VOF wave map from Mount Rainier. Emerald Ridge, Mount Rainier. These wavy lines, as I explained the wavy lines over at Mount Baker, these wavy lines are caused by magma infill coming into the magma chamber of the volcano, Mount Rainier. The wavier the lines, more magma coming into the volcano. The wavy lines are VOF, very low frequency waves caused by magma coming into the magma chamber of the volcano. Look at this. We are also seeing an earthquake this morning at Mount Rainier. This was a 3.5 earthquake. A small 3.5 earthquake here at Mount Rainier. And they're not reporting it. Look at the length of that vertical earthquake. Look at the length of that vertical earthquake signature. 3.5 earthquake. One earthquake. One very short earthquake. And after that, the wavy lines got busier. More and more magma came into Mount Rainier today. Okay? It's no joke. Let me show you a couple more seismograms coming from Mount Rainier. This is Camp Sherman. Look at the tremors and also the earthquakes hitting Mount Rainier today. They showed us tremors near Mount Rainier today, didn't they? Microquakes. Yes, we have plenty of microquakes here. We also have full-blown tremors, 1.0 to 1.5, 1.8, 1.9 tremors. We also have some vertical lines here indicating a 2.0 earthquake. We also have other vertical lines here with no dot in the middle of them. Those are steam signals. Steam signals coming from Mount Rainier. Again, we have another diagram I want to show you here. Okay? Look at this. You don't get these signals unless we have superheated magma. Again, this signal should be 23 to 24 lines high. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines high. Interesting. That means this is about 32% of real world. The seismogram we're seeing should be 32% of real world. And the lines after that signal here. Those are also steam signals that Mount Rainier is steaming. We also have some earthquakes to talk about. How about this earthquake over on the right-hand side? This happened just after 4:14 a.m. this morning. Again, another 3.0 earthquake here at Mount Rainier. Then another 3.0 earthquake at least after 7:05 a.m. this morning. 3.0 earthquake there. We have these vertical lines with no dots in the middle of them, which are steam signals. We have that magma churn signal showing this seismogram is not showing us the full detail it should be. The seismologist turned down the seismograph that wrote this seismogram. Turned it down. Mount Rainier. I want to go down to Mount St. Helens. I have more seismograms to show you here at Mount Rainier, but the time is going on. Nearly 2 hours we've been on the air. Let's look at East Dome Mount St. Helens first. Look at this, guys. East Dome Mount St. Helens. Yes, we're seeing tremors. They told us we had microquakes happening at Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens. Yes, I see microquakes. I also see tremors here. I also see 2.0 earthquakes. As such, here yesterday evening, after 6:10 p.m. last night. 2.0 earthquake lasting about 10 seconds. And then after that, we had a secondary wave lasting nearly 45 seconds, which means that earthquake was actually larger than they're saying it is. Then over here this yesterday evening, after 8:31 p.m. last night, 8:31 p.m. last night, 20:30 hours. The blue line is 20:30 hours. The black line above it is 2000 hours, which is 8 p.m. So this earthquake happened after 8:31 p.m. last night. 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. And the secondary wave lasted another 45, 50 seconds. Which says to me this earthquake was probably a 3.0 earthquake. Probably a 3.0 earthquake. We can see magma coming into the magma chamber here on this seismogram. The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber. And we can see even tiny vertical lines on these thicker lines, which means that magma coming into the magma chamber caused rock fracturing. And that rock fracturing caused the earth to move, causing tremors. And even microquakes. And we're seeing plenty of tremors and microquakes here on this seismograph. Plenty of them. Mount St. Helens East Dome. That is the summit of Mount St. Helens. You ain't seen nothing yet. Let's take a look at Mount St. Helens September low. Mount St. Helens September low. No, this is not the VLF channel. This is not the VLF channel, but we're seeing earthquakes and tremors here. Look at all these tremors here at Mount St. Helens. Yet they're not showing them, are they? They are not showing them here. After 12:15 here, on this red line, this should have been a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake. Just after midnight last night. About 18 minutes after. .5, 2.6 earthquake there. And we have another after 6:27 this morning. 6:27 this morning. Look at all these tremors and earthquakes here. Mount St. Helens. They're not showing them on the map, but they should be. You've seen the evidence of it here. Don Mayer says we're being buffered now. Interesting, we're showing seismic activity that the agency's not showing. How about September lobe VLM? September lobe BDF CC01. This particular seismogram was written by a seismograph sitting on top of the volcano, sitting at the summit of Mount St. Helens. It's called September lobe. It's a spider. It's a seismograph box sitting on spindly legs that looks like a spider. It's not showing any activity since yesterday evening at 5 p.m. until early this morning after 6. Why? Because the seismograph is not showing anything because it was turned down, all the way down. There are no tremors before 6 a.m. this morning. There is no movement until 6 a.m. this morning at all. Hold on a second. Hey, Don. Major buffering, huh? Great. Doggone YouTube, and it's YouTube doing it. YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. I've got an error message here on my monitor. It says YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So they basically shut me down. Dadgummit. Okay, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, Don. Talk soon. Bye, brother. See you soon. Guys, we're getting buffered very bad. We're getting buffered very bad. Are we seeing it better now? Are things better now? Are you guys still getting buffered really bad, or is it calmed down? Here at September lobe, you see all that magma coming into the magma chamber early this morning. Look at that. But USGS is not showing it. USGS is not showing anything happening at Mount Rainier or Mount St. Helens. And yet, Mount Rainier is moving. Mount St. Helens is moving. This is insane. The agencies are lying to us. These volcanoes are moving. These volcanoes are moving. Let me show you one more seismogram at Mount St. Helens. Mount Hood is also moving. This is source of Smith Creek at Mount St. Helens. Source of Smith Creek at Mount St. Helens.